Welcome to this edition of Sprout Central. I'm Dennis Tynes, I'm your host, and this is the last show of 2020. So, Happy New Year, everybody. We've got a fantastic show lined up for you today, and we're going to tell you all about that. But first, let's look at what we did last week. Last week, we had human optimization expert, best-selling author, and motivational speaker Robbie D'Angelo on the show with a message of abundance. He's holding a workshop about how to have an abundant 2021. We've had a lot of great guests on the show that have talked about stepping into 2021 like a boss. Catherine Sutton was on the show, and if you follow Kat on the Coast on Instagram, you're keeping up with her. She's going to be on the show in just a little bit to check in with from the 5K superhero fun run, virtual run. So we're going to talk to Kat. But we have a great guest lined up today. We've got, we had Scott and Mandy Anderson of the Red Radio Productions on the show. And their host was so good, we had to have him on our show and see if we could maybe talk into doing a little guest hosting of Sprout Central. So we've got Mitchell Gruich on the show. There he is. He looks kind of like he's got a Star Trek thing on. That's very cool. I like Star Trek. So we're going to do that. We're going to have him on. And he's going to talk about what it's like to actually be a host. And he's got two podcasts that he hosts, Red Radio Productions and Krohn, which is an in-depth look at local artists on the coast, especially musicians. All right, so stick around for this episode of Sprout Central. Call your friends, call your neighbors, and tell them Sprout Central's on. We're going to be back with Connor right after this.
Audio Jungle.
Let's put our heads together on a great staycation. Berry Creek Cabins in nearby Bogalusa, Louisiana is your wilderness staycation headquarters. Cozy cabin lodging for 4 to 12 people with modern amenities, kitchens, relaxing porches, fishing, and a 2,700 square foot party deck pavilion. Call 985-730-4395 or berrycreekcabins.com. Berry Creek Cabins is family staycation headquarters.
All right, we're back, and we have Connor on the show today. Connor, welcome back to Sprout Central.
It's great to be here.
Where you been, man?
Vacation.
Vacation, excellent. I like to take the Christmas vacation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to take the time to relax.
Take some time and gather your thoughts. Take a little vacation. That's a great idea.
Exactly.
Where'd you go?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
In the mountains, yep.
Oh, the mountains. Kind of getting away from the coast.
Oh, yeah. Definitely different.
Do you do any introspecting and you coming back with a fresh attitude?
A little bit, yeah. I saw a bear.
Saw a bear?
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
A bear. There are bears in Tennessee, folks, if you didn't know that. Okay,
Absolutely.
So what are we doing? We're talking about, it's the end of 2020. We've had a remarkable year, I would call it.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say? And what we want to do is we want to have an incredible 2021. We had Robbie D'Angelo on the show, and he talked about attracting abundance into your life. We work on that. You and I work on that together a lot, attracting abundance.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to give people like the top 3 list of different things today that you can do, that you should do or maybe shouldn't do. I don't know. The whole segment's produced by Joey, who's actually not here today. And
well,
so
he's here through his words.
Oh, that's right. And so we have a nice segment produced by Joey of the top 3 things. What's this? A letter from Joey. Okay, you want to read this or you want me to read it, Connor?
Since it's directed to you, I think you should read it.
Okay, so it says, Dennis et al. Another year in the books, and what a crazy one it was. This year's been a roller coaster ride. That's absolutely true. But I'm rolling into 2021 with a new business on the rise. I want to express my sincerest gratitude to Sprout. Well, thank you, Joey. And to you, Dennis, thank you again. As you have been such a huge help along the way. I wish I could be there to ring in the new year with you and all the viewers, but you know how corporate is. That's true. I wanted to add one thing of my own to the solid advice you're giving to the viewers here, though, and that's just to, if you haven't already, adapt an attitude of gratitude for 2021 and watch how it will transform your life. Gratitude is the soil from which so many positive emotions grow. So be grateful for even the smallest things. Look for reasons to smile, and you'll find them. And have a great show. See you soon, Joey. Thank you, Joey. And that's probably that's fantastic advice. Connor mentioned that in the rehearsal, that we you know, one of the top 3 things should be to wake up and make a list of things you're grateful for. You ready to do the top 3 segment, Connor? What's the first thing?
Well, this is awkward for me to start, but the first thing to do is don't pick up your phone unless you're a trader. So
Right.
if you pick up your phone, you get a tiny dose of dopamine in the morning, when that dose would be more beneficial after you've already got up and you've remembered your dreams, you stretched, and you drank your water.
Right. I read something about that recently. I forgot where it was, but that if you wake up and try to remember your dreams, that helps you be able to establish a focus for the day, and like you said, not get addicted to not get your first shot of dopamine by getting on your phone and looking on the social media or whatever it is people normally do.
Exactly. And with your dreams, you analyze what your subconscious is trying to tell you. It could be symbolism through your dreams, and you may not see it if you don't analyze that.
Right. That's very true.
And the next point was to stretch.
Yeah, stretch. Again, I read somewhere that if you just stretch, and especially if you're an old guy like me, bend over and try to touch your toes, that, the more times you do that, the longer you live. So, I've been doing it. I get up in the mornings and I do it. I bend over and stretch, and it's painful. So I do it very slowly, but I stretch every morning and kind of get going.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing.
Keeps you flexible.
So we're gonna this year, everybody, we're things to do. We're gonna wake up in the morning. We're gonna what? We're gonna not check our phone, and we're gonna
think about our dreams.
We're gonna think about remember our dreams. Then we're gonna
wake up and stretch.
Wake up and stretch, and what? Let's give them one more thing.
Drink lemon water, warm lemon water.
Right. That was your advice. That's right. The warm lemon water. It helps you. Well, it reduces the digestive plaque and helps you.
Any water in the morning, right when you wake up, helps your body wake up, and it wakes up your digestive system, so it works more effectively. And it's similar to coffee in the morning times, drinking water.
Right. So get a healthy dose of water, stretch, and then, like you were saying in the rehearsal, and Joey mentioned it in the letter. I think we should talk about gratitude for just a minute before we wrap up the first segment. Maybe write down a list of 3 things that you're grateful for every morning. If it's just the house you live in, which I'm grateful for the house I live in, I'll tell you that, or whatever it is, to make a list of the things you're grateful for and focus on that. Have your warm lemon water and stretch it out every morning and for an abundant 2021. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. You have to know where you've been and know what you have to know where you're going.
Right. Fair. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about some things that we can do in 2021, like adding income streams and starting businesses and trading, and just a lot of stuff to cover in a short amount of time. So we'll wrap it up for just a minute. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more Sprout Central in just a minute.
The Netflix example is obviously one that everyone sees, where Blockbuster, kind of overnight it seems, got put out of business, and Blockbuster was ubiquitous for a lot of people for a long time. And so we said, gosh, if Blockbuster is going out of business, what else could happen? And that was several years ago. And so now we've seen that speed up. And so I thought, I don't want my friends, I was 42 at the time, to be caught unaware. I didn't want my friend to be the guy who had the key to the door at Blockbuster not work because the business was closed. So I dedicated the rest of my time to pursuing and educating and opening people's eyes to what's coming. And the great news is, I think there's never been a better opportunity to step into all these great technological arrivals that we can talk about.
Audio Jungle.
All right, welcome back to Sprout Central, where we help you take your dreams and build a community. We're back with Connor, and we're talking about the top 3 things to do, don't do, advice for stepping into 2021 like a boss, as Catherine Sutton says.
Absolutely.
Or, like Robbie says, have an abundant 2021. So what do we have next on our top 3 things list? Did you have a look at all the list of what we're doing today?
Absolutely. The top 3 things that we were going to do this 2020.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
So first we're going to set goals, and then we're going to let go of anything holding us back, any regret, and we're going to make amends to those regrets. And we're
Yeah.
also going to add income streams to put us in a better position next year. I think a lot of people looked at their Christmas this year and realized the position they were in, and they were able to analyze what they wanted. If your Christmas wasn't fulfilling this year, you have to take the steps to make sure that it's fulfilling next year.
Right, and you could relate that to your whole year. So,
Absolutely.
you know, are you happy with where you are right now? Or did you have a great the Christmas you wanted, or whatever it is? And if not, then let's pop that back up and let's talk about it a little bit more. We're gonna set goals. And remember, Catherine Sutton was on the show. I think you co-hosted that episode, where she talked about making SMART goals, where you set goals that you know you can reach, that are realistic to reach, and you know, taking it one bite at a time. Just grab one slice of the pizza. Don't grab the whole pizza. Just grab one slice.
Exactly.
So set some SMART goals and let go of regret. Well, you think about it. If we're living in regret, then you're living in the past, and there's
the old ball and chain.
Right. There's a lot of things people could look back on and regret about 2020. I know a lot of people have had hard times financially because of the declared pandemic and that sort of thing. But if you do that, if you forgive yourself, first of all, if you did something wrong, if you feel like you failed, well, trying is failing. When you have to, you know, if you don't fail, you're not trying.
Exactly.
So if you feel like you failed, or you didn't reach your goal, or you just didn't even get to the bus stop this year, well, forgive yourself.
And put a plan into play to get there next year.
And that's right.
There's
write a
an
plan.
old Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time is now.
That's a good one. I like that. So then we have a couple of other things. We're going to get Clarence to pop the screen back up and talk about some guests we've had on the show. Well, let's do income stream first. We can talk about that. So we're going to add income streams. Start a business. Okay, fix and flip. We've got, and we got to do this quick. Fix and flip. We've got through Sprout. We do fix and flip loans, and you know all about that. With 10% down, you can buy a house, fix it and flip it, and there's a good profit to be made in that.
Even on credit?
Even on credit. You can borrow the money you need. Actually, if you're an experienced fix and flipper, folks, you can do the 100% of the rehab money. You don't even have to have any rehab money. You can borrow 100% of that. Yep. So we do that. Well, let's do start a business. We'll talk about that. If you want to start a business and you need help writing your business plan, they can call the Sprout number and get help.
Or watch the last season.
Or watch season 1 where we wrote, and like every video, please, on the YouTube, but like, and learn how to write your business plan. If you have questions, you can call us. Then the last thing, let's talk about trading. Connor, you're the expert. You text me my tips in the morning, or we talk about things in the mornings.
So
what can we do to get into trading? We got a couple of minutes.
To start a new income stream through trading, and if you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to want to do the stocks. The returns on that are 1% a year, or, well, I mean,
so holding positions,
accounts.
You don't want to buy a stock and hold it. There's an alternative.
Yeah, exactly, like the call options. That's why I'm so infatuated with the call options, because Apple went up $5 today, and that's not big of a jump. It's not $5 on over $100 stock is not that much if I own that stock. But with the call options, that's
okay. So if I own 10 shares of Apple, let's just say, well, that's, you know, what, $1,300?
13.
But and I would make, if it went up $5, I would make $50. What if you buy the option?
With $1,300?
Right. How much would you make? I would make 50 on buying a share of stock. You can just estimate.
Over $5,000.
Like 5,000. So trading options, and we're going to teach people how to do it. And we've picked a date. January 14th, 7 p.m. We're going to have like a Zoom conference call where if you don't have a trading platform, what's the deal there? That's your thing.
So if you don't have the trading platform and you have no idea what you're doing on these apps, well, we can help. And the difference between these apps and a brokerage is they don't take as a big commission.
Fees.
Yes, no fees.
Okay.
So even if you lose, you're only losing what you bet. You're not losing any extra money to pay to the brokerage.
Okay, so we're going to do January 14th, and we're going to have all the graphics and put it on the website, sprout.fun. So email us if you're interested in trading, and we're going to be right back with Mitchell Gruich of Red Radio Productions and Kast, the podcaster and host of both of those shows, right after these messages.
Audio Jungle.
Let's meet Dr. Lauren Timmons. Dr. Lauren Timmons, practicing dentistry here in Ocean Springs. Welcome to
Thank you.
the show. Now, let's talk about the machine that allows you to do an implant and a new tooth in one visit.
Okay, there's two parts. There's a 3D X-ray machine, which is relatively new to dentistry. We take a 3D X-ray and we're able to design the implants in a three-dimensional X-ray. And then there is a CEREC machine, which we're able to mill out and design crowns to go on top of those implants.
And so literally a person can break the tooth off, come in, have the tooth extracted, have a new implant put in and the tooth screwed in, and walk out with a new tooth in the same day.
Correct, with the crown on the implant in one visit.
That would have been considered probably a miracle 10 years ago. Right?
Impossible.
Impossible.
Right.
Well, thank you for being here in Ocean Springs with us, and I hope everyone will come to see Dr. Lauren Timmons in Ocean Springs.
Thank you, Ed.
Audio Jungle.
All right, we're back, and we have our guest on the show today. He's the host of the Red Radio Productions podcast and the co-host of the Krohn podcast. And we've got Mitchell Gruich on the show. Welcome to the Sprout Central, Mitchell.
Hey, thanks, Dennis, for having me.
I'm all nervous. You're such an actual host. I'm all tongue-tied now. You're making me nervous just being on the show.
Man, you and the big TV station here. What you talking about?
I haven't done this very much, though. And anyway, I watched the Red Radio Productions, the second one, and great job. That was a really good show.
Thanks. It's really fun to work with Scott and Mandy Anderson. Mandy's the director, and Scott gets all the guests and coordinates the schedule and everything. They're a good team.
Yeah? So how smoothly does it go? I mean, you guys got a big task.
Sometimes it doesn't go smooth at all.
You're recording bands in advance, and then portions of it are live, where you'll have a guest on and do a live.
That's right, yeah. So some parts are logistically challenging when it comes to recording the bands, because you have a lot of microphones and mixing the audio. But when I sit down with a guest one-on-one like this, it's a little bit easier. You'll have two microphones to work with, two levels to work with. So you can just sit there and kind of tune into what that person is there to talk about.
And then you do a good job interviewing them, too. I kind of, I'm lucky I have friends I can bring on the show that I already know, because it's hard to figure out what to ask people on these television.
You just got to do your homework. You just got to research and see what they've done. The other night on Kast, we had another podcaster on, and I, watched like half a dozen of their episodes. And then when he came on the show, I kind of knew some references that he was making. I could talk about some of the guests that were mutual friends that he had on his. And you just do your homework, see what kind of music videos they've made, what kind of music they're into, that same circle, that network of people.
Okay, that's fair. That's good advice. Do your homework, and maybe, like I only watched one of yours, maybe I should have watched several of the other ones, which I will now, and we're going to have you back on the show. But right now, so podcasting has become really popular, and it's, I don't know, is it taking over the internet? It's a lot of people are doing that now.
I think a lot of that might have to do with everyone going into quarantine because of COVID this year. And everybody, I remember when I was looking for a webcam, I went to Target, I went to Best Buy, I went to Walmart. Every place was sold out of webcams, because not only was people at home doing their schoolwork, trying to finish out their school years, and they needed webcams to talk to their teachers, but everybody was also trying to find these ways of still being, present in the different facilities that they do. And, for musicians, they needed a webcam to be able to still perform. So, I mean, it was impossible for a while, and then, Amazon came through.
Right. Well, good. Amazon has been coming through with a lot of stuff and shipping it to our houses lately, haven't they? So, the Red Radio Productions, I watched that, but I'm not really familiar with the Krohn Rock. Let's talk about that for just a minute.
So Kast is it's hosted by Phil Krohn at his house, at his studio in Latimer. I'm a co-host of it, and we have on musicians, and we have on people that are within that circle that are music affiliated. And it's more of a deep dive. It's more, we do in-depth interviews with them. So we get into their background, their musical history, the bands they've played in, you know, logistical stuff like how they write songs, how they work together in a band setting. And that's all. I love it because we can sit there for 2 hours, 3 hours. We don't have a time limit. We just, you know, shoot.
Right.
I don't know if I can say, if I can curse on here, but
I don't know.
you know.
I don't know if you can curse on Sprout Central or not. We'll check with corporate on that and get back to you for the next show.
But you know what I'm saying. We can sit there and we can, you know, shoot the bull with them for however long, you know, and it's a good time. It's a, you know, relaxed environment.
And that's interesting too, because you know I love like the biopics anyway. I loved like, are you familiar with the band called The Band, you know, from back in the day? It was an older band. You know, it's really touching stories of, you know, even recently we've had Freddie Mercury, the biopic there, and Elton John. But I've always been interested in what life was like behind the scenes of my favorite band people, and I have a lot of like really favorite band people here on the coast. We're going to maybe list out some of those in a few minutes and talk about, you know, some of your favorite bands and people you've interviewed and on the show, and mine too, and maybe see if you know any of them. We've got so with the Krohn Kast, when does that air? How often does that
Sunday
air?
nights. We do that Sunday nights live.
Every Sunday night.
Every Sunday night live. And Red Radio, it's kind of half and half. It's a hybrid. Red Radio is some of it's pre-recorded, and then the interviews are live. And then I have my own podcast, which is called Common Grounds, and that's also live.
Okay. And when does Common Grounds?
Common Grounds is basically whenever I find someone that I really, really want to sit down and talk to, like in depth, and not necessarily a musician or anybody, but just, you know, like the last episode I did was on epilepsy, people with epilepsy, and going through the different kinds of seizures and their experiences with epilepsy.
So that sounds really rewarding, and hopefully, you know, we can inspire some people to maybe become podcasters and add some things to the community, and even an income stream through podcasting. Hopefully, do you think that would be a possibility?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break and then come back, and we're going to talk about some of the bands you've interviewed and some interesting stories there from your various podcast endeavors.
Sure. Great.
Okay, well, we'll be right back after this message.
Audio Jungle.
The best thing we did at the Y was that lobby. I love seeing the seniors sit around drinking coffee, talking. You know, we have a lot of books. You've seen our library in there, reading books. There's one group that brings snacks once a week, and they just sit around and socialize. And of course, we do trips for our seniors too.
Audio Jungle.
Okay, we're back, and we're talking to Mitchell Gruich of Red Radio Productions and Common Grounds podcast. And we're going to talk about some of the bands you've interviewed and some interesting stories from the, I don't know, do you get stories from the road? We were on tour. I have a great story from the road.
Okay.
I don't know if we can tell it on this one or not, but I used to manage bands back in the day.
What bands did you manage?
Oh, see, well, I'm getting interviewed now. I like this. So, and back when I was in the 90s, I moved back here from Memphis, and I was friends with, you know, some really good musicians. And one of them was a local guitar teacher who had a band. Ultimately, it became known as Fluid, which was a cover band. And they were so good on their own that everybody thought, well, they must have a good manager. And I was just out putting up flyers and booking. I was just their gopher, really. You know, band manager is a title, a thing, I guess. But I was their gopher, and they were so good they got booked everywhere. So then all the other bands were like, we got to have that manager, their manager. Well, you know, the ability to book a band is directly related to that band's talent. So anyway, it was a very fun experience. Fluid, Fate Train, several other ones along the way.
Wow.
Some interesting bands.
The 90s was an exciting time.
I love the music from the 90s. I mean, that's where I got kind of, you know, before that I was into the music that I grew up with, but then when I got pushed into this 90s music scene, they were playing all these cover tunes from bands I wasn't familiar with. So I had to get familiar with them so I could talk to the club owners. And I fell in love with 90s rock, all alternative 90s rock.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite genres. That's actually what I like to play when I'm just sitting at home with a guitar and a couple of fuzz pedals. That's what comes out.
So you play the guitar too?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I like to say the kids think I can play.
Yeah.
You know.
I make a lot of noise. I make a lot of racket. But you're asking about some of the favorite bands, artists that were on the podcast. We had Della Memoria play that on Krohn, Kast, and that is one of me and my wife's most favorite bands, local bands on the coast. And that was a really great performance because it felt so intimate when you just have, you know, the musicians sitting across from you at the podcast table and playing, you know, a dozen songs, and you're right there in the room, like you can't get any closer. You just feel like, because the music's in your ears. And then we also had probably the most fun band we had so far on Red Radio was Fun K Getaway, which is actually a local funk band. And
I love the funk music.
Yeah. I felt like I was actually on the set of Saturday Night Live when they were performing, because you know, it's they're doing covers, but it's their funk covers, you know, and then of course Scott's Lights, you know, it makes you feel like you're on Saturday Night Live in the room while it's happening.
So up close and personal with a really good band, that sounds like backstage pass fun to me.
Oh yeah.
Right there. I would enjoy that.
We'll have to start selling tickets.
That's a good idea. You know, we're talking about getting a studio here and just doing it live before a studio audience. Maybe we could, I'd love to, in fact, some of the fans are writing in saying, well, why don't you get a band like the other talk shows? Well, we can't. But maybe we can have a musical guest sometime.
Sure.
What do you think on the show?
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
There's lots of them.
All right, so any interest in like insider scoop? We've talked about, you know, a couple of your bands. Let's see, local bands. You know, we had Amber Dawn on the show. Do you know Amber Dawn?
I don't.
She's got an interesting little like R&B act going on with one of her. She kind of has grown from a solo artist into a manager artist, and just putting together shows and doing, you know, helping the community by providing us some good music to listen to. Brooks Hubbard. Mm-hmm. You know him?
Yeah.
Heard him? He'd be a good one to interview. I bet he's got a lot of interesting stories along the way.
I think what you were talking about, Grayson Caps last week, right?
Grayson Caps. Grayson Caps. He plays over in Mobile with Molly Thomas, who's from Pass Christiana. We want Molly. If you, I think you do watch Sprout Central. We want you to come on the show and talk about your new album. You know, she's got an album that. The guy that wrote Peaceful, Easy Feeling by the Eagles also wrote their big song that they're pushing as their single. So she's the big time. She's been on David Letterman.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of good musicians from the Gulf Coast, from our Secret Coast area.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. You know, it's really a shame with COVID and the bars not being able to be open. And I was on a podcast earlier in the year because I had a music video come out that we made right before quarantine hit. That's why I was wearing the Star Trek shirt, because in the video we're all wearing, the band's wearing Star Trek shirts, had a Star Trek theme. And yeah, and then, you know, they had asked, well, what's the future like for bands now with COVID and everything? And it's really a split, because not everybody wants to go out into public and play and perform music for a group of people, you know, because they're scared. And then you have the other half of the people that really want to play. And then you got people who've survived COVID and are ready to play. So,
right.
You know, it's a mix. It's a mixed bag.
It's challenging, but yeah, I think we're up to the challenge. Like you and I talked to, we both have been through it. We had it. I had it, and you know, it's definitely something that we're as a people, we are up to the challenge. So we're going to come back in 2021 bigger and better than ever, I believe. So look, we're going to have to wrap up this show. It's been great talking to you, and you know, I didn't get to the part where I was going to try to talk you into maybe being the guest host on Sprout Central time.
Well, let's just switch seats and we'll talk about you know, spy bases.
We'll go ahead and shoot another show now. Okay, but thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And please come back and join us again.
Anytime.
Keep us updated on all your endeavors. It's very enjoyable watching your podcast. I enjoyed it very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Mitchell, we've got the Magic Scooby Bag. You know, we had Scooby-Doo on the show, so do you want to draw from the Magic Scooby Bag?
I sure do.
Got something from, let's see what we got in here.
Oh, let me, what is this? What is this?
What?
Scooby glasses! Holy Scooby snacks!
Hey, here, don't you have two?
I do have two kids. Look at that. Now they don't have to fight. Thanks, Dennis.
You're going to have to pick a favorite. You got three things.
I know who to give this to, my lovely wife.
All right, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Audio Jungle.